the Charlie Kirk thing, for instance, a lot of us are like, hold on a second. You expect us to believe that that's the story? And then there's 90% of the population who's like, yep, nope, that checks out and makes sense, You think that ties into it?
Absolutely, man. Because see, here's the thing about politicians. I started out calling them idiots, right? But they're not all idiots. They're actually pretty smart. They know a lot about the human condition. They know
Yeah.
how to manipulate the masses, right? They know which buttons to push, what to say to win favors, right? And get people on their side or oppose them. And so Chase Hughes is not wrong. In fact, this guy's an up and coming rock star, man. I've been watching him since like he first showed up on YouTube, and all of a sudden, boom, he's just blowing up.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's wrong on much of this stuff. In fact, I don't think he's wrong on anything as far as I can tell. But I think there is a component to that in that, you know, I, I'm going to be a little cruel here and ugly about it, but I would say 90% of the human population, they're just dumbasses. They're just idiots, right?
Yeah.
Go to LinkedIn and go look at all these professional profiles of guys with advanced degrees, blah blah blah, and then they post their personal comments, especially political stuff or in support of,
Yeah.
abortion or whatever it is, right? And you go, how can a guy with that kind of education be that stupid? And I'll use Elon Musk quote. He says you can buy an education, but you can't buy intelligence. And there it is, right? There's a lot of people out there that are educated that are not intelligent and they're dumb. And so that's the reality of it, right? So manipulation is the key here. And that's what Chase Hughes talks about is how we are being manipulated. And once you become aware of the manipulation, then suddenly it's not so scary anymore because you realize you're still in control of yourself
Yeah.
and that the machine isn't controlling you. You're outside that control, right? And so you now have a little bit of sovereignty left. And that's what one of the things I do in my coaching program is I teach guys how to think, now what to think, right? Because everybody teaches you what to think.
Right.
The media tells you what to think. The news tells you what to think, and then they have all these bots that come on there, and this is just computer AI generated bullshit that's pretending to be some guy, and it's going to give you some reason why you're wrong or why so there's a lot of psyops going on out there. Not only that, if you look at, for example, now every time I see a video of something, I have to ask myself, is it AI or real?
Yeah.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
And so they have created a system now where they have sowed more doubt, and right. And so you don't know what the right answer is. And most people don't have the intellectual capacity to arrive at their own conclusion. So they're just easy to manipulate. If you bombard them enough times with a lie, usually 60 to 90 days, they will believe that lie is the truth. And there's nothing in the world. It's called information escalation bias. There's no truth in the world that will change. There's nothing you can do to change their mind.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what's happening to our society. And part of it is genetics. When you start looking at average IQs, they're pretty low.
Yeah.
Especially when you start looking at certain cultures, they're even lower, scary low. And those are the vulnerable ones because they don't have, like I said, the intellectual capacity, the effective intelligence to discern what's true, what's not true, what's likely, what's not likely, right? They won't work through the problem to arrive at what they think is a rational conclusion because, well, it takes work, it takes effort, right? And that would interfere with my game playing on the video, or the
Yeah.
bullshit I'm reading, watching porn, right? People don't want to put the work in, so they're like lemmings. They follow everybody over the abyss, right? Because they think, well, if we're all work, if a million of us are doing this, it must be true. If a million people repeat a lie, it's still a fucking lie,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But and so here's the thing: this is why you have to be different. Is you gotta you gotta you gotta walk your own path, all right? And you gotta take chances. You gotta be a calculated risk taker. Stop following the herd because if you do, they're gonna take you right into the abyss with everybody else. That's what's happening today, and this is why we're in such a dangerous place in the world is because again, the dumb masses are being manipulated. Even those with educations are idiots. Okay. If you don't believe me, get on LinkedIn and just look at some of these profiles of some of these people. And then the smart ones won't put their personal opinions on the on LinkedIn, for example. They'll stick to what they know, their profession. Okay,
Right.
that's what you should do, right? But everybody wades into the water of doubt, right? And they want to everybody see their opinion because I'm smart and Trump is bad and blah, 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 blah. But, they're wrong. And so you could say, well, who's determines who's right or wrong? Well, I tell you who does. My consciousness and my effective intelligence, because I actually did the work, right? And
100%.
I do comparative analyses all the time. I always look at things, and there's a way to do it, and I compare it, and I look at all the variables, and I look for the truth. And and I don't always have the right answer, but I know in time I'll figure it out. So I give you another example. The topic of abortion. Okay, topic of abortion. All right. All right, here's the thing. Used to be a long time ago, I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Why? Because it didn't really concern me,
Right.
right?
You're a dude.
I don't know. So I didn't spend any time thinking about it. I really didn't spend any time thinking about it,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And then as I get a little bit older, and I have daughters and sons, and now I'm more aware of the world around me, I start to analyze a little bit more, and then I ask myself, is abortion bad? Yes or no, and why? And so it's easy to say my body, my choice. And by the way, that's all brainwashing. That was done intentionally by the Democrats and politicians a long time ago. When they allowed women to vote, that was basically they knew women are emotive and we could play on their heartstrings by saying your body, your choice, right? Yeah, it's my body, my choice. They left out the part about there's two bodies, right? There's another body inside your body,
Yeah.
completely different DNA, right? You agreed to put it there, allow it to be there, okay, with
No.
some exceptions, very few exceptions like rape, okay,
Right. Yeah.
but it's most people have allowed it to happen. And so then my body, my choice, I decide I don't want this thing and get it out, right? If I were to shoot a pregnant woman, I would be charged with a double homicide.
Right.
But she can go ahead and murder her own child, and it's good to go, right? See, this is what I'm talking about. When you start really going through sorting of the difference between the wheat and the chaff, and you start looking at things more critically and analyzing it, you start arriving at these conclusions. Like, if I kill a woman with a baby, that's a double homicide. But if a woman has a baby, kills her baby, it's her body, her choice,
Right.
right?
And I don't think it's
Okay.
just females anymore either. I'm seeing a lot of males who are just
Oh yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah,
man, ooh,
yeah.
it's scary,
So,
man.
so you're right. It's males, right? So at the end of the day, there are men and there are males. Unfortunately, there are more males than there are men. Okay, and there's a reason for that. There's many reasons for that. Goes back to playing with genetics. That's one of them. Two is nutrition, lifestyles, um, you know, suppression of testosterone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the brainwashing, right? Which is, now we're talking about third, fourth, fifth wave feminism, right? So, um, and so basically, if you're a masculine male, you're toxic, right? You need to tone it down a little bit and be a little bit more sensitive like everybody else. Like who
Yeah.
everybody else? Well, the rest of it's chicks, right? And then you got the males are in line with the feminists because the males also have low testosterone, never done a damn thing in their life. And there's another reason too, by the way, that males do that. They're called sneaky fuckers. That's literally a term, sneaky fuckers. Like, what does that mean? Well, here's what a sneaky fucker does. All right. And this is throughout the animal kingdom. So let's just say, all right. Well, here's the I'll just use animals. All right. So you got a wolf pack, right? You got an alpha male, alpha female. All right. Only alpha male and female allowed to breed. That's it. Nobody else gets to breed.
Yeah.
But one day, the alpha male goes out on a hunt and he leaves behind a beta male or the omega, right? The loser of the male wolves, right? He's not the manly wolf. He's just a male wolf, right?
Right.
He's
Man
eating
bun.
off the scraps and shit, right? Yeah. When the male wolf is the alpha's gone, guess what the sneaky fucker does? He fucks all the
Yeah,
chicks, right?
exactly. Yeah.
He runs off with a few of them for himself. It's the same thing in human society. We have beta males and sneaky fuckers everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so who are some of these sneaky fuckers? Well, sometimes they're your best friend. You think you can trust your best friend, but when you're out of play, he's banging your freaking old lady, right? So that's
Yeah.
just, that's evolution. It's all in there for a reason, but at the end of the day, politicians know this. They know social dynamics. They know the human condition. They know how to manipulate it. Because at the end of the day, what do politicians and people want at the elite levels? They want power and control. Power and control.
Yeah.
Nobody in government actually cares about you. And they tell you, "Oh, I care about you." And no, they care about how you vote and what you believe. And if it's in alignment with their objectives, you're their buddy,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And so we're all being manipulated. We're all being used. And I watched one of Chase Hughes programs where he talked about, you see all this outrageous stuff on social media, and like shit that like really would make you boil. And you read it, and then you go to the next one. There's another one, and there's another article about something else. It's like just a lot of rage bait. It just starts popping up because of the algorithms, right? After
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 of these rage bait articles or whatever you're looking at, all of a sudden there's something, an advertisement for, I don't know, something, right? A watch or some bullshit, right? And then so all of a sudden the watch advertisement becomes more sane and more safe, and you're more likely to engage that as an escape mechanism. It's very bizarre, but I think he's right, because after I started learning it from him and watching, I started picking up on it myself, right? It's like they use rage bait to pull your mindset into a certain place to sell you
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
right? Or to gain something from you, right? And that's what politicians are doing. They're using rage to recruit people. And a great one again is abortion. So I started off with that, right? So they tell women, your body, your choice. How dare anybody tell you what to do? Your body, it's your body. The government doesn't own you, right? And so on its face, it may seem simple. Yeah, that's right. They don't own my body. It's my body, my choice. I should be able to do what I want. Okay. Well, what if I said, you come into my house, I go, you know what? This is my house. And I just decided I don't want you here anymore. I'm just going to kill you. Because you're my house, my choice. My house, my choice. I'm going to kill you, right? Right? Oh my God, but there's laws against that. Why? Well, it's murder. Yeah, but it's my house, my choice.
Yeah, right.
I don't want you here anymore, right? Well, you could have let him go. Yeah. You know what? You could have had the baby and put it up for adoption.
Right.
See? So there's a thing called, shit, I'm losing. I have had enough coffee yet this morning, but so there's a couple of ways to look at it. One is from the scientific perspective. I'm getting off some tangents here, but because it's on the front of my mind, science. Believe the science. It's only a zygote. What is a zygote? Well, if you look at I think it's the Greek definition for it. It means baby, right? It's just a clump of cells. Well, are you a clump of cells? We all are clumps of cells, right? So, and then there's another thing called give me a second, I'll think of the word, but basically I'll summarize what it means. So we have a responsibility. For example, if let's say you walk up to me and go, hey, Comstock, look at my little 3-month-old baby my wife just had. Is he a cute little guy? And I go, yeah, he's really cute. And you want to hold him? And I go, yeah, sure, let me hold him, right? And I hold him for a few seconds. And in my mind, I go, you know what? My body, my choice. I don't want to hold this little fucker. And I just drop him on the ground, right? It's like, dude, right? I have a responsibility to deliver this child back to safe hands.
Right.
Just like a pilot, right? Let's just say I'm a pilot and I'm flying a 737. And as I'm flying along, I had this awakening or epiphany or some shit. And I go, you know what? Maybe I had too much fucking drugs last night. You go, you know what? My body, my choice. I don't want to fly this airplane anymore. And you take your hands off the controls and let it do whatever it wants to do. But you got 300 souls in the back of the aircraft. You have a responsibility to deliver back to the ground safely. You can't say my body, my choice. I'm not flying this airplane anymore. Yeah, you got a co-pilot, but for example, let's just say he's fucked up too, right? So maybe both of you agreed to it, right? And so we all have this responsibility. I'll think of the word here in a minute, what it's called, but haven't used it in a while. But we all have a responsibility to deliver everybody safely. If you accept somebody, for example, if I accept a stranger in my home, okay, I have a responsibility to protect him, take care of him, and see him back out the door safely. Not go, I just had an awakening. This is my house. I don't like you. Boom, I'm just going to kill you.
Right.
My house, my choice. Bullshit, right? So this is what I'm talking about, the level of intellect that most people don't have or refuse to tap into because it's too inconvenient, too much work. People don't want to waste brain cells and energy thinking about other things. It's just easier to go along with mainstream. Yeah, abortion's good. Kill babies. Kill them all day long. So I've changed my tone on that as I got a little bit older. But then on the other hand, here's another example. I was raised from very early on by my father told me drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. Drugs will kill you, blah,
Right.
blah, 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 right? And so I never did drugs, even growing up. And then the military reinforced that drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. In fact,
Yeah.
not only that did they enforce that, but they also sent me to the unit alcohol drug coordinators course, right? I became a UADC guy. I was the guy that I was a piss master. I was the
Yeah.
guy the night before the colonel would go, hey, Comstock, tomorrow I want you to give everybody your analysis test and don't tell anybody. Roger that. I go down and get all the piss boxes and bottles and shit, right? And in the
Yeah.
morning, you call them in at 0500. Everybody's like, what the fuck? What's going on here? It's like, all right, dude, bring your swinging dicks in the fucking toilet here and piss in the cup while I get to watch it, right? And then I seal it all up and date it, right?
Yeah.
And all that did was reinforce in my mind, drugs are bad. Don't do
Right.
drugs, right? And I've always believed that, even marijuana, until about 12 years ago, I guess. So I won't name his name or anything, but I got a friend and he does sell marijuana, but that's all he does. He doesn't drink, doesn't do any other drugs.
Yeah.
He just sells marijuana. He's a Christian, right? Donates all his money to charities and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm sitting there scratching my head going, but you're a drug dealer, but you don't use drugs and you put in a charity, right? And it took me a while to figure this out and think about it. I was like, you know what? What is wrong with marijuana, right? Is it really a gateway drug? And the answer to that is no. It sounds really cool to say that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So people can justify, the legality of it. But my question is, and it was to myself, is like, how many people are dying from marijuana compared to alcohol and cigarettes,
Oh yeah.
right? Huge difference, right? In fact, people that are doing marijuana usually aren't even dangerous. They're all laid
Right.
back. They just like to eat
Yep.
a lot, right? So what? But so I had to look at it really hard and think about it. I was like, that's a paradigm shift for me because as a naturopathic doctor, I do believe in alternative medicines and natural health. And I looked at marijuana and go, you know what? Marijuana has medicinal purposes. It does help people, and so I don't see a whole lot of evil with it, very little. I do see how the government is profiting off this by putting people in jail and prosecutions and we
Yeah.
got drug enforcement agency. So after I arrived at the conclusion that marijuana is an exception, it's not bad. I don't indulge, I don't smoke,
Right.
I don't do any of that, but I'm not opposed to it anymore either. Right. So
Right.
where I was at one time, because after I started really critically thinking about it and looking at all the information out there, I realized that the whole thing is just a blowjob. And so, and who's behind it? Well, all the people that, were brainwashed to believe in drugs are bad, marijuana is bad, right? They have a closed mind. And these are
Yeah.
intellectuals, have a closed mind, right? So I took an intellectual approach to this issue and realized it's not as bad as I was, taught that it was or to believe it. Now, I'm not saying, okay, cocaine is, it's a plant as well. Okay, that should be good too. No, I'm not saying that. Okay.
Right.
I don't think there's probably anything good about cocaine other than it can numb you, have a numbing effect. But outside of that, no. But there are other medicinal herbs and drugs out there that are good for you that are being banned. And it's also my belief that the pharmaceutical companies are actively suppressing things that are good for us, right? So they
Yep.
can sell their actual drugs to you, right? So the world is just a big mess.
Yeah.
It's a
Well.
big mess. Now, here's the upside. And I'll shut up. The upside is this. Again, people can hate me. I don't give a shit, right? Show me how you're better than me, and then maybe we can have a conversation. But at the end of the day, I'm a pro-Trump supporter. I don't give a shit if he's got a couple skeletons in his closet. We all have them. We all have them, right? So one, I don't care about that. What I do is I look at the big picture. What is he doing, right? More importantly, who is he appointing to support him? Well, he's got RFK. So RFK, make America, healthy again. And I'm watching this guy, and this guy's on it. He's spot on, right? He's saying what I've already known for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Fluoride's bad. Why are we putting rat poison into our water source?
Yeah.
Right?
Or toothpaste and everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah, sugar, sugar's bad. Carbohydrates is bad. Eating meat's good. Cholesterol's good. Eggs are good. Salt's good, right? Completely upending everything.
Yep.
And he ain't wrong. The evidence supports it, right? Mainstream evidence or mainstream medical science doesn't support it because it's hurting their pocketbook. It's
Right.
taking it, we're siphoning off their lucre, man. Like they're making money off of you being sick. And suddenly we got somebody go, no, we're not going to make Americans sick anymore. We're going to make them healthy again. Right. So I see us rounding a corner a little bit. Now, I also see the opposition doing everything they can to undermine, for example, RFK. He's not a medical doctor. blah 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 blah. And so let me ask you this: do you have to be a medical doctor to be an expert on physiology, biology, and medicine? No, you
Right.
don't. In fact, I know a lot of doctors, and I know medical doctors that have coached under me. They will come out and admit they know shit about nutrition.
Nutrition.
They
Yeah.
don't know anything about vitamins, right? Because they're not taught that. Because guess who's providing the curriculum for med school? The pharmaceutical companies. They want you to either take drugs or cut things out of your body.
Yeah.
That's their cure for everything. Their fix, right? So, I've had some paradigm shifts, lots of them. Am I writing off, humans? I am to some degree. I think we've engineered our own extinction. I don't think we got much time left
Yep.
on many fronts and many levels. And I think the people that are going to survive in this world are ones that are going to figure out how to remain sovereign and not dependent or codependent on things like artificial intelligence or their job, right? Or they're going to think outside the box. They're going to have to be asymmetrical thinkers, right? And so I think I think hang on to your hat, buckle up, put out your cigarette because the next 4 to 6 years is going to get really
Interesting.
bumpy, man.
Oh yeah.
And
So going back to
so
the marijuana thing, I did a video last week or just a few days ago on this actually because there was that Supreme Court case where they were trying to take this guy's guns away for eating a marijuana gummy every other day. So yeah, so
yeah,
I ripped that video apart. But here was my logic, and again, this is me becoming a free thinker here. I was in the military, and then when I got out, I did 8 years in law enforcement. I was a detective. I was on the SWAT team. I was top performer my whole time. And you know what? In that 8 years, I never once showed up to a call for service that was caused by marijuana. But I can't even tell you how many I showed up because of alcohol. So that
right.
tells me right there, like we got shit backwards.
Yeah. Well, it's intentional. It's all intentional, right? So, um, I can cite the history for a lot of things and why we are where we are today. And it didn't start 4 years ago. It didn't start 10 years ago. It
Yeah,
actually started over a century ago, right? So, I mean, we can go all the way back to, John D. Rockefeller when he decided, one, just through his influence and his money and his power, was able to basically be in charge of the general education board. It's the general education system, right? And he even came out and openly said it because I'm going to create a society of workers, not entrepreneurs, right? So they designed a curriculum that taught you things like regimentation, like to raise your hand when you got a question, stand in line, move when the bell rings. So, that's what you need in a society of workers, right? You need conformists, obedient, right? That are going to do things, blah, 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 blah. And so we have a society full of worker bees, very few entrepreneurs. Think of one time in high school. Has anybody ever taught you how to be an entrepreneur? I don't remember anybody telling me how to get, an EIN number, how to set up a business,
yep,
none of that bullshit. It's fucking simple, right? So,
yep,
because I don't want you to know that stuff, and a few years ago, I was in Hong Kong. I saw a guy wearing a shirt in the train station at the airport, and it said, "You can," he said, "You can work and make other people. You can work to make other people rich, or you can make yourself work and become rich. Right? Just work for yourself, right?" And I'm paraphrasing, but basically that was how it is. Most people go to work every day making their master rich, making them money, right? And they're grateful that they get to work for this person and make the money. And and then they ask, "Hey, sir, I got 2 weeks vacation coming up. Can I take my vacation this time and this time?" Yeah, you may. You can take it now, right? And so you're asking for permission to be free, right? And to take the chains off where you're working for other people. You have to work Monday through Friday. Sometimes you have to work forced overtime, find yourself working, so you look forward to the weekend. By the time the weekend comes, you're too damn tired to do anything for yourself. It becomes a cycle, right? And so I've always been an entrepreneur. Since I left the army in 2001, 25 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but that fast. Uh, I've never worked for anybody. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've started my own businesses, my own companies. I did work for OGA for almost 10 years, but even then, as a subcontractor, I wasn't forced to work. In fact, I would call a guy, "Hey, I don't want to work this month or 2 months. I'll be back in 3 months." And I
yeah,
made And it was that easy. So I'm still self-employed. I could always walk away. I manage my own money. I got paid for the work that I did, and that's it. And
Right.
so if I didn't want to work, I didn't get paid, and that was okay with me. Aside from that, I've just been working on my own and building my own life, building my own businesses. And for those out there listening, don't know, right now I'm talking to you from Bali, Indonesia. I have 3 companies here, 3 businesses. I have a family here, my home's here. I have an entire life here. I also live in Florida. I have a home there. I got a life there. I got stuff that I do there, business there. I also live in the Philippines. I got a home there. I got a life there. I got stuff I do there. Right. So I live out of a suitcase. I travel the world. I get up when I want. I go to bed when I want. That's sovereign. But guess what? I'm not completely free. I'm not completely
Yeah.
free. Guess who still got their hands on me and in my pockets? Well, the American government, the
Yeah.
IRS, and the Indonesian government and the IRS, right? So those are a couple right there, right? And of course, the Philippines. So we're never completely free, but some of us are more sovereign than others because we created that lifestyle for ourselves, right? We created our sovereignty and we did the work. We didn't fall in with the herd of lemmings and go over the abyss with everybody, right?
Yeah.
We didn't let other people determine how we're going to live and our outcome. We made it for ourselves. And that's the thing about freedom. Um, Real freedom is you get to make choices in life, and those choices you make, they're yours, along with the consequences, the good and the bad. And
Yeah.
not everybody wants to deal with consequences because most people don't trust their own choices, right? They're really not sovereign. So we're going to go back to again the brainwashing stuff, as you mentioned earlier. Um, Most people don't believe in themselves.